Did you guys know that a single female freshwater shrimp can produce up to 30 babies per month? That's a lot of little critters. But keeping them thriving isn't always as easy as it sounds. So what's the secret to successful shrimp breeding? Stick around and I'll show you. Welcome back, fish muggers. If you ever thought about breeding freshwater shrimp or have simply wanted them as an additional pet in your tanks, you're not alone. This hobby has been growing fast among aquarium lovers, and for good reason. Shrimp can add color, movement, character, and life to your aquarium. And with the right care, they can breed successfully in your environment. Keeping a shrimp tank is an incredibly rewarding experience, and shrimp are just cool. Watching these fascinating little creatures dart and graze amidst the lush greenery is incredibly relaxing and rewarding. Believe it or not, once established, shrimp tanks are surprisingly low maintenance. They're an excellent choice for experienced aquarists and even beginners. Shrimp are also incredibly beneficial to your aquarium. They're natural little scavengers. They'll eat algae and leftover fish food. This helps you keep your tank clean and the water pristine. A well-managed shrimp tank can thrive for years with proper care. Freshwater shrimp come in a dazzling array of colors and patterns. From the deep striking red of red cherry shrimp to the blue velvet shrimp, and then the multicolored bee shrimp and the crystal shrimp. There's a shrimp variety to captivate anyone. Setting up a shrimp tank is relatively straightforward, though it may seem complicated at first. Breeding freshwater shrimp isn't without its challenges. So today, I'm going to break down the basic steps and instructions that you need to make to ensure your shrimp thrive, breed, and multiply. Okay, stop. This is a warning. Obviously, that was largely scripted, and I'm just trying something out new here, guys. I needed an outline or a script or whatever so that I could stay on topic and not veer off on any tangents. Yeah, I might be a little ADD. It's true. It's always been true. But anyway, as I've been editing this video and all these clips, I noticed like one thing. Right? And it's time for the aquarium lights to go out. See, ADD, what? Squirrel. But I noticed one thing, like for one, this video is going to be pretty long. I know, right? Me? Long-winded? Come on. You watch my videos, right? But the other thing is that I don't really have a lot of room for pretty panoramic, scenery and stuff like that. So, but that's not what this video is for. My objective in this episode is that it's meant to be informative. I mean, it'll have entertaining parts, I promise. I've been editing it. I know they're entertaining. But if you're here to learn how to set up a successful shrimp tank, or maybe you're trying to fix something with your own shrimp in your own environment, then, go grab a notepad, go grab a pencil, take some notes. I'm creating this video hopefully in a very structured way, which is why I needed a script, in a structured way, like steps, so that each of these, sections are key components, so that you could build, the basic building blocks and hopefully build a successful build or fix a successful home for your shrimp. Alrighty then, I got that off my chest. Now back to your regularly scheduled program, already in progress. So how do you overcome these challenges and ensure your shrimp are happy and healthy? Well, most of all, that means we need to talk about the initial tank setup. The substrate is the foundation of your shrimp tank. It provides a surface for beneficial bacteria to colonize, and these bacteria are essential for maintaining good quality water. Just like in your regular aquariums, your fish aquariums, they need the same thing, right? So there's really no difference here. So choosing the right substrate is crucial for the health and well-being of your shrimp. One of the highly recommended substrates for shrimp tanks is a product called Bonsai Akadama 2-line. It's an inert clay-based substrate, and it's specifically designed for bonsai plants, but it's also ideal for shrimp tanks. Because one, it helps regulate the pH of the water. Akadama is also rich in minerals. These minerals are beneficial for shrimp health and coloration. Akadama doesn't have any nutrients, so if you wanted to supplement nutrients for your plants, you'd have to do that. But I found in my tanks that the fish waste and the shrimp waste are enough to supplement for any plants that are growing in there. So you don't really need to add nutrients. And I wouldn't add nutrients anyway because they would leach quickly through, the Akadama is coarse. So the nutrients would just leach up into your water column and probably cause you some algae issues. The biggest problem that I see with Akadama for most people is going to be that it's a bit pricey. I mean, one bag of it is $60 on Amazon. I bought a bag of it. But here's the thing. It's going to last you a long time. And so you could set up a whole bunch of different shrimp tanks. One tank for every color of shrimp in their own separate little homes. I mean, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to have a separate tank for everybody. I mean, you set up 5 tanks with colored shrimp and you have you have your red tank and you have your blue tank and you have your green tank and a yellow tank. And you need a cull tank too, where you put the brown or the gray ones that you don't want anymore, but you don't want to get rid of them because they're beneficial. I actually have some brown ones that are fantastic looking. And then if you wanted to get into crystals and bees, you need new tanks for that. This substrate works for all of that. But anyway, if you're on a budget and you don't want to spend a lot of money on it right away because you just want to try it out and see how it goes, consider using an inert gravel or a sand base, kind of like what we do for the aquariums. The fish tank aquariums. You can do something just like that. I mean, I actually had that going on here in the guppy tank. I mean, there's nothing special that I did for the shrimp. The shrimp came later actually. But you could also do like a aqua soil, like fluval stratum, and just have that straight on the bottom. I've seen people do that too successfully. Anyway, when you're choosing a substrate, avoid substrates that are coated with dyes or chemicals or anything like that, because that can leach like weird stuff into your water, and that could obviously harm your shrimp, maybe even kill them. So don't do anything like that. You can use pebbles too, like pebbles from the hardware store, like pea gravel or whatever. If you're not using Akadama, always rinse your substrates thoroughly before adding it to your tank. If you've watched any of my previous videos, you'll know that I had quite the blunder on the last episode of the Pirate Bay, where I didn't rinse the sand, and man, what a disaster. So rinse your stuff. That's going to be my whole new motto. Rinse all your stuff. This will get rid of all the dust and debris out of it. Now, the thing about Akadama, you don't need to rinse that. It's a hard baked clay, and eventually it breaks down and kind of becomes mud. But I've actually been running it in my shrimp tank in the kitchen for a year, and it hasn't broken down at all, unless I'm just not noticing it, But I mean, it stays clumpy for a long time. But you don't need to wash it because it'll all sink. If any of it gets in your water column when you fill the tank, it'll just sink. Probably the biggest hurdle for new shrimp breeders is getting the water just right. It's all about the water, honestly. Shrimp can be incredibly sensitive to water quality, and it can either break or make your breeding success. Things like temperature, pH level, and even the right tank mates can all have an impact on your shrimp's health and their ability to breed. So why aren't my shrimp breeding already? Well, when I first started out with shrimp, I didn't have proper water parameters, and so I experienced a lot of fatalities until I finally just buckled down and did some research, and then I started to get it right. I think it's all a little confusing out there because many people think that shrimp need brackish water for the eggs to develop. I mean, maybe they do. Maybe brackish is what I do. So something that I use is a product called Shrimp Mineral GH/KH Plus. I'll put a picture of it here. I'm also going to have some little video clips of it. And this stuff is actually for neocaridina shrimp. There's different kinds of shrimp. So there's neocaridina and there's caridina. They have different needs. If you're interested in caridina and B shrimp, you only want GH, no KH. You should avoid keeping these two species together because of these differences in their water parameters. Another thing, if you're serious about shrimp, you want to go ahead and get yourself a TDS meter off Amazon for cheap, I think $12 or something like that. And you want to target your water chemistry to be about 230 parts per million. That's ppm. 230 ppm is what I target. And actually, the stuff is actually kind of salty. So we're talking about the salinity or whatever, the needing salt. I tasted it. I taste everything. I'll smell it, I'll taste it, whatever. I'm gross. I'll probably end up with some weird diseases someday. But so maybe that's what the brackish reference is, right? So once I hit this level of 230 in my tank, all my shrimp just started breeding. I mean, it was like a couple of weeks later, and I was like, wow, that's really cool. Now, I also do RODI water. This is reverse osmosis deionized water. I have a filtration system that I got off of Amazon, and it was cheap. It was like $50. I mean, it may be more now because that was a couple of years ago. But take a look. It's worth it. I mean, I use that water and I just put it straight in my tank, so I don't have to treat it or anything. It takes all the chloramines and chlorines out. It takes everything out. I'll put the TDS meter in there and I'll get a reading of 1. 1 part per million. I mean, it really cleans it. So what you do is you take this mineral, whichever one you're going to use, and you dissolve it into a cup. Okay, make sure you put it in a cup. Don't put it directly into your tank. Dissolve it into a cup and then distribute it over the surface of the water. Distribute it out over the surface. You'll see you'll have this milky color they'll put in the water, but it goes away almost immediately. And then just let that circulate a couple minutes while your filter pushes it around. And then wait a couple minutes and then take another TDS meter reading until you get the level up. Now you can do this over the course of maybe a couple of hours if you already have shrimp in there, so you don't shock them. If you don't have your shrimp in there yet, then you're fine. Just go ahead and get your tank prepared before you buy shrimp. Guys, always get your tank prepared before you buy livestock. Don't buy livestock first. God, I can't tell you how many times I see people they buy their livestock and at the same time they buy a fish tank and everything at the store. I just want to strangle them. Another stuff that I use is this stuff called Bacter AE. Here's a picture. I do it about once a week. Sometimes I'm bad about it. I might do it every other week. But the stuff is great. Has lots of benefits. It also adds minerals into your water. I mean, on the container it says to do it daily. But dang, man, that's a lot, man. I don't know if I would do that much. So once a week I think it should be fine. I mean, and the thing, it says what the dosage is. And I couldn't figure it out because my tank is only a small little, the one tank is only like a small little 3 or 4 gallon tank. And then I got this tank back here for the shrimp is a 20 gallon. But it has this little itty bitty scoop. It's neat, that big, right? And I'll fill it about halfway with the powder. and then put it in a cup. I do this in a cup as well, guys. So you dissolve this in a cup and mix it all up with your chopsticks. I use chopsticks for everything. And then and also distribute that around the water. So that stuff is great. I mean, look it up. Take, do a little research, and it'll be good. Get the stuff. Get it. I'm telling you what to do. This is what you got to do. Something else I do, which may seem counterintuitive, based on our fears, but I leave the lights on extra long. As soon as I get up in the morning, I turn on the shrimp tank light, and I turn on the lights behind me here, and I'll keep them on all day until I go to bed. And that's so I can build algae films in the tanks. I mean, shrimp, they love gazing on that. The great shrimp love grazing on the algae, especially the little shrimplets, which actually I think algae tends to be one of their initial food sources. So you really got to have that. So obviously, water quality and the parameters are the most important thing. Your water it's basically their air. I mean, if you lived in a pollution zone or in the city, people suffer from problems with pollution. Just imagine the same thing for them. So their water is really important. So I think it's also important. It might be a little pricey, but I think it's important that you invest in some testing kits. So the two kits that I use, especially for freshwater, are the API Master Kit, and then API also has, it just happens to be API. You may have a preference with another brand, but API GH and KH kit. Because from time, I don't measure a lot. I don't do it very often, but if I notice that things might be a little off, because I'm used to looking at things and I kind of know when things are off, now that I've had the experience. But, in the beginning, I used to take readings every week, and I would keep track of them. I kept track of them on a spreadsheet like this. And here you see all my different tanks, different parameters. Then I started adding TDS. But yeah, keep track of it, guys. It's a scientific process. But yeah, get a kit, measure your things, make sure they're about right. Make sure your GH and KH are up to par, especially for neocaridina shrimp. If you're doing crystals and bees, then make sure you have no KH. Make sure you just have GH. And get both of these so you can maintain some stable water parameters, at least understand them. So the hardscape of your shrimp tank refers to the non-living elements. I mean, this includes rocks, driftwood, caves, even aquarium decor, like you get from pet stores. Who lives in a pineapple under the sea? Well, your shrimp can. You could even use those if you wanted to. They're fun. A well-designed hardscape it not only enhances the aesthetics of your tank, obviously, but it also provides hiding places for your shrimp. This is essential so they have their, so they get a sense of security. I'll get into that a little bit more later. Dragonstone is an excellent choice for shrimp tanks. It's an inert rock, just like Akadama, and it has a really cool looking appearance. It comes in all shapes and sizes, and it's easy to break apart too if you wanted to build your own sort of, glue together your own sort of, castle or something. You can create some pretty unique and interesting foundations. I've seen people do some really cool stuff with it. Another thing I use is chala wood. Chala wood is the cactus. It's a cactus skeleton, and it's completely safe for shrimp. I mean, it also provides great hiding places for the little shrimps and shrimplets. And I use both of these. I use Dragonstone and chala wood as my hardscape in there. And I like it because I can actually stuff moss or some wassertang into the holes and not have to glue them down. So that's a big deal to me. So, not having to do any gluing, yeah, that'd be great. challah wood can sometimes, leach some tannins into the water, but we all know tannins are really good for everything. I mean, they're beneficial, they help lower your pH, and they're perfectly safe for your shrimp as well as your fish. And honestly, it mimics their natural environment of a whole, lots of shrimp have, very, very tannin-rich environments that they live in. Anyway, so when you're arranging your hardscape, just make sure that you create lots of little caves and lots of crevices and, these little places that will serve as a safe haven for your shrimp and shrimplets. Just like any aquascape, live plants are essential for a thriving shrimp tank. Freshwater shrimp, they need a well-planted tank with plenty of hiding spots. Why? I mean, if it wasn't obvious, because they're small, shy little creatures, and they need somewhere safe to molt and escape from potential threats. Your shrimp may be less likely to breed also if they sense that there's no safe environment in which to do so. In addition to providing hiding places, plants also provide oxygen and absorb nitrates and nitrites, just like in your fish tank. I mean, not to mention they just make your tank look good and they create a more natural and aesthetic pleasing environment. Certain plants are particularly well suited for shrimp tanks. I mentioned a couple earlier. Use soft and dense plants like moss, hornwort, guppy grass, substrate tang, and ferns. Java moss is really popular for shrimp tanks, right? Because it's easy to grow and it attaches itself to your rocks and your driftwood and your filter and your heater and everything. This stuff gets everywhere. You got to control it, okay? But there's another one that I mentioned earlier. It's a relatively unknown plant and kind of new to the hobby, new in the past 25 years, I think. And it's called substrate tang. I'll put a name of it right here so you know the spelling of it. Substrate tang. I think it's from Germany or something. It's an excellent option. My shrimp love this stuff. It forms dense mats and clusters that resemble actual seaweed. So it's like green seaweed. And it provides excellent cover for your shrimp and shrimplets. I see them grazing on it all the time. Guppy grass, I like guppy grass. A lot of people are like, but guppy grass, it's a mess. But it's a great plant for shrimp. It's not as dense as Java moss or substrate tang, so you can see your shrimp running around and crawling around and grazing in it a lot easier. So you can see through it. It's like a labyrinth of, like a maze and lots of little caves. So it kind of gives you a bigger sense of how many shrimp you got in there. Plus, it's got a lot of surface area on which the like algae can grow, and shrimp love grazing on this, especially shrimplets. They'll graze on that all day long. Another one is hornwort. I mean, a lot of aquarium people they consider all these plants to be like sort of weeds because they kind of get out of control. Hornwort's a very fast-growing stem plant, and it provides a lot of oxygen to your water. If you saw any of my previous videos, you'll see where I filmed some hornwort one day, and then a couple days later in another scene, I show you the hornwort, and it's like double or triple the size. It grows very fast, but it's great. The shrimp love it, So if you need to get something up and started really fast, hornwort's a great option. What you want to do is you want when you're selecting plants, you want to avoid like those high maintenance plants that require high light or CO2 injection. Just don't do that. It just complicates the whole process. You don't need any of that for a shrimp tank. I mean, if you already have that going, you're not going to hurt anything, but you don't need to get anything like that for your shrimp tank. These plants that I just listed are fine, but you want to choose plants that actually thrive in the kind of water parameters that your shrimp also thrive in. Another thing too is like if you get new plants or whatever from the pet store, make sure you quarantine them before you bring them into your tank. If you need to treat them for, if you don't want pest snails or anything like that, you can treat them for that at this time. Do that. Take the care to do that before you put them into your tank. You don't want any pests or diseases with your shrimp. In summary, plants like these examples that I gave you, have a lot of benefits. They help neutralize your toxins in the water column. They promote oxygen-rich water, as well as offering plenty of refuge for your little guys. So plants are crucial for your shrimp habitat. Not only your TDS, your GH, your KH, and everything else, your nitrates and nitrites and all that, not only that is important, but you want to make sure there's other things about your water. You want to make sure that the temperature is up to par. Shrimp, freshwater shrimp, they like a temperature of about 70 to 78 degrees Fahrenheit. That's 21 to 25 degrees Celsius. I actually keep mine a little bit on the high side. I like mine around 79 or 80. And that's fine too. I mean, it doesn't have to be perfect, but like just keep it in that range. Also, let's talk about their pH. Their pH needs to be around 6.5 to 7.5. And soft water. And obviously you need, when you're doing your tests, you want low levels of ammonia and nitrates and nitrites and all that. You know, shrimp are pretty resilient, you know, so like they can adapt to a lot of things. So like you don't need to nail those numbers. Don't fixate on them, but try to like at least target them, okay? You know, set them as your goal to get your water to that level. And the way the way you do this is like, you know, periodic small water changes, you know, get your water changed, add what you need to supplement whatever's missing or take out whatever's not supposed to be there. From my experience, if you have these exact parameters, they're all perfectly safe for your shrimp, obviously, but they'll work for your fish as well. So, you know, don't worry that if you're adding these minerals or these salts into your water, into a community tank where you have other fresh water, you know, these guppies right here just keep breeding. They don't care. And I put those minerals in that tank as well. And I'll do it in several other tanks where I've experimented putting shrimp just to see how they survive. Even my beta sorority, they have salted water, mineralized water. I'm just gonna call it mineralized. It's not salt, but it tastes salty. But yeah, all of this is very safe for all your different critters. It's also important that you get a filter. I mean, filtration, obviously, you need to have that. You need to, you know, keep the water clean. You need to keep the water moving. And, but, you know, you want it to be a gentle filter. It doesn't, you know, you don't want it like pounding them. So, you know, you want it to be like a gentle current, because if you create too much current, you know, shrimp can be delicate. You know, you might end up like shooting the little shrimplets across the tank and making them hit things, and you might injure them. So, you know, too much water can stress them out. I mean, too much water. They need water. Too much current can stress them out. But let me tell you, man, I'm not sure about that either. But you know, maybe in the beginning. But these little guys right here on this tank, I think I got a little clip of this. But these guys right here, they'll get right in the current and like just. I remember once I saw a whole bunch of them just sitting there in the current. I mean, and I just cleaned the filter. And so the water is coming out nice and strong, right? It was like they were at the water park or something. They were just like, they were just getting pounded. So honestly, I mean, I wouldn't even stress out, but make sure you do have some current, you know, and you're moving the water around, so you don't want it to be stagnant. You know, which actually reminds me of something else. I've seen other people where they've built environments for shrimp specifically, like in a shrimp bowl or a small cube or whatever, with no filters. Lots of plants, no filters, and they put shrimp in there and they seem to survive just fine. So, I mean, you know, have a filter, don't have a filter. I think I would do a filter, but I'm going to do some more research on that. What do you guys think? I'm going to do some more research on that and maybe set up I don't know what you would call that, like an isolated no-tech, not low-tech, but no-tech environment for little shrimp. I bet we could have some snails in there, maybe some little chili rasboras. But yeah, I think that would make a nice future video. What do you guys think? Tell me down in the comments. So another problem that I see shrimp owners facing is with feeding. It's feeding, you know, balancing a healthy diet that promotes breeding without causing an algae overgrowth. I mean, it can be tricky. It can be tricky. So let's talk about diet. Freshwater shrimp thrive on a variety of foods, from algae wafers and shrimp pellets to blanched vegetables like zucchini and spinach. I love spinach. I've even fed them duckweed before. But you got to be careful that you don't overfeed them, because that can lead to excess nutrients in your water column, and then that can trigger excessive algae growth, and they won't be able to keep up with eating all the algae, and then, you know, it could cause some water quality issues that might make you sad. So it's a balance. So you got to figure out, you know, just how much to feed them by simply observing how fast they eat the food that you give them. So I use a variety of shrimp food. So let me just go over that. You know, the ones that I prefer. I mean, shrimp eat everything, so you don't have to fixate on this, but some of the things that you want to consider are: you need a good quality shrimp pellet to form the basis of their diet. I use a product called Tropical Shrimp Pie, which incidentally, I just learned this recently, is actually for plecos and cories and bottom dwellers. And I got it because the name said shrimp pie. And I thought, well, the shrimp are going to love that. And it's not even for shrimp. But my shrimp love it. So, like, you know, they've been eating it. It's a great option. You know, so it's a sinking wafer. It's packed with protein and other nutrients that they need. But this same company, they actually make an actual shrimp food. So, you know, based on my experience with this tropical shrimp pie, I'm going to go ahead and get the shrimp version of their food next time when my shrimp pie runs out. I'm near the bottom of it. Another product that I really love is Shrimp King Mineral. Picture. Shrimp King Mineral, it's really popular, you know, a real popular choice for shrimp and shrimp keepers. It's as if the shrimp had a choice. No, but they literally love this stuff. They attack it every time I put it in the tank. It's a complete food source, and it also provides lots of essential nutrients that the shrimp need. And then I also have a homemade food that I made and created from a recipe that I adapted from another YouTuber, Mark's Shrimp Tanks. I'm not sure if I should promote somebody else's channel, but honestly, he's a great source. If you want to get super serious about shrimp, this guy knows it all. I mean, he's done it all. And all he does is focus on shrimp, period. You know, this video is a culmination of everything that I've learned from his channel and other people's channels, and in just my personal experience. And so I picked out like all this crucial information, and I made sure that I was able to, you know, put it together in this video to help you create a successful shrimp environment without having to do all the research that I've done over all these past years. But yeah, go check out his videos. I mean, the guy really knows what he's talking about. So I was talking about overfeeding earlier, right? I have a little schedule. So I feed my shrimp about 3 or 4 times a week, where I alternate these 3 foods. And then, you know, little treats here and there, whatever. Plus, I put some fish food in for I got some chili reservoirs in that one tank. And then obviously I put food in here for the guppies. So any of that gets down to the shrimp, I'm sure they eat it right up too. So, so here's my little schedule, right? So Monday equals minerals. So I do the mineral on Monday, because Monday mineral. Then on Wednesday, I do the pie, because who doesn't love pie on hump day? And then on Friday, since we have time to cook for the family, that's when I do the homemade one. I don't actually have to make it for them. It's already made and dried, but so something like that, right? So you come up with your own regimen and your own schedule, And, you know, observe your shrimp and make sure that you don't overfeed them. You only need just a couple of these little pellets, and then they'll just graze on everything else and keep your tank clean. So here's a pro tip, guys. And it's cool. It's a cool little tidbit. You can put dead leaves in your tank. Now, sure, you know, dead leaves will impart some tannins in your water, which we already know is good for pH and other benefits, right? But they're also a good food source for your shrimp. I've got maples and oaks and magnolia trees that grow on my property. And so I have free food basically, you know? I just collect the dead leaves in the fall in a bag, and you know, before they start rotting or whatever, before they get on the ground, the loose ones, and I'll let them dry for months in an open, unsealed bag. Make sure it's unsealed, because if you seal the bag, you're trapping the moisture in there and then they'll rot. And after a few months, it like completely dehydrates them. There's a term for that. There's a term for that, and I forget what it was. Oh, maybe it's desiccate. It desiccates them. If you know what I'm getting at, drop a comment in the down below there. You know, so I think it's desiccate, like, because you know those little packs of desiccant or whatever that they put in food and stuff like that. Anyway, if you want to be extra safe before you put them in there in your tank, or if you want to put them in right away and you don't want to wait for them to dry, you can boil them for a few minutes and then add them to your tank. But you know, if I let them completely dry, I haven't had to do that. Now they will float unless you boil them enough, I guess. But they will float. So you know what I do is I'll put a rock on them or something, or I'll tuck them away in a crevice or whatever, you know, and put it in there and wedge it in. If they're good and yummy leaves, the shrimp will eat all the fleshy parts off the leaves and leave all the vein work, you know, in the leaf. It's really cool. Man, I know I got a video of that somewhere, but it looks kind of cool when they're done with it, you know. So so here's something, you know, and if you don't trust the leaves on your property or whatever, you can also buy them online. You know, you can buy almond leaves, catappa leaves. And I even read that banana leaves are also good. Now, I don't think you can put bananas themselves in there. I'm not sure. I've never tried it. But I've never tried banana leaves either. But I heard they're really good. If only somebody would grow a banana tree around here, I could just try out the leaves for free. I did mention also blanching vegetables like zucchini and I just dropped my glasses. Zucchini and spinach and squash and fresh vegetables. I actually put zucchini in raw, and yes, it'll float, but I have a little trick for that. Another pro tip. I'm going to be full of pro tips today. I got these, and I'll show you a picture of them, you know, in my hand or something like that, but I'll show you what I do. I got these stainless steel rods that I think are used for building, you know, like RC race cars or whatever. You know, they're stainless steel, and I'll feed them through, or I'll just cut up slices and I'll just put them on there. You could also do a fork. You drop a fork down there, it's just ugly. You got a fork sticking out of the substrate. You know, stick your vegetable on the fork and then just drop the fork in there. But something that weighs it down and gets it down to the bottom so the little guys can get on there and start munching on it. Your plecos will love it too. So if you have plecos and you have cories, heck, my guppies will eat anything too. I think they're scavengers as well, right? That's a scavenger tank right there. But yeah, they'll eat it, and you could just sink it right to the bottom. I've never had to blanch them. I did before, and then and then they were all boiled and mushy, and you know, they seemed a little messier. So yeah, that's another little pro tip. I'll show you these rods, and maybe if I can find in my Amazon cart what I paid for them. It was, you know, less than $10, I think. Stainless steel though, that's important. Don't get anything but stainless steel. Another thing to take into consideration, guys, is that calcium is an essential mineral for these shrimp. It's crucial for their exoskeletons. The shrimp need calcium in order to molt properly. And molting, it's the process that they use to shed their exoskeletons while they're growing. And underneath they grow a new skeleton. So, you know, without a source of calcium, just like with us, I mean, don't we need calcium or protein or something for our fingernails and things like that? Your bones. So, you know, their bones are on the outside. That's what an exoskeleton is. Without sufficient calcium, the shrimp will experience molting problems, which can actually lead to death. I mean, it's fatal. If they can't molt and they can't get their molt off, they get trapped inside of it and they'll die. You know, so it's really sad. So here comes another pro tip. You don't have to buy any crazy expensive thing to get the calcium. All right, here's your pro tip. It's easy and inexpensive if you just go buy some cuttle bones and put those in your tank. Cuttle bones. They're the internal shells of cuttlefish, and they're a natural source of calcium. So it hasn't been altered in any way. So I use the cuttle bones for calcium, and then the shrimps, so the exoskeletons can develop properly. They're nice, they're cheap, and usually you'll find them at your pet stores. They're for parakeets and other small birds, parakeets and cockatiels. We have a cockatiel. I mean, you've heard him, Morty McFly. So we always have cuttle bones on hand. So don't go buy some hyped up and pricey third-party product that claims to do the same things. Cuttle bones work great. I'll cut them into small pieces and then I'll glue them with cyanacrylic glue, also known as CA glue, and Gorilla Glue. You know the Gorilla Glue gel that we use? I've talked about this in other videos. The Gorilla Glue gel is perfect for this. Okay, we use it for aquascaping and everything. It's completely safe. But what I'll do is I'll glue them to like rocks or pebbles so that they sink, because otherwise they just float. You know, so and my shrimp love these guys. It's so cool to watch them, because I'll see them like pecking away at it with their little pinchers. You know, and their little pinchers, they're doing this, and like little pieces of calcium are flying. If you look really close, you'll see it. It's amazing how strong those little pinchers are. Like they're ripping right through that stuff, and it seems kind of hard. So those little things are like surprisingly strong. Speaking of exoskeleton development, the process of molting is when the shrimp are shedding their exoskeletons as they grow. So like what I want to do is So what I'm trying to say is, this is the same thing that you observe like bugs and spiders, and there's all kinds of other creatures out there that do this exact same process. So when the female shrimp do their molting, and they're of breeding stature, you know, they're ready for breed, so they're old enough to breed. You know, they're about an inch, maybe about a 3/4 of an inch long. Once she molts, she'll suddenly become overcome by males. They'll just flock to her. Because see, this molting process, it exposes their softer underskeleton. And so when they shed their old skin, at the same time, she'll release hormones into the water. And all the males will sense this. And they come in and they do their thing, because they can now penetrate that softer exoskeleton. That's how they get to them. The eggs are up on her saddle. It's called the saddle. It's like right about here on her back, and you'll see like if you have a red shrimp, you'll see like this yellow saddle there. And I mean, they sense it immediately. Like it's crazy, and the males will go absolutely nuts, and it's pretty violent. I mean, it looks like they're attacking the poor little girl, you know? I mean, I got to witness it a few times, you know, and the first time I saw it, I didn't know what was going on. I'm like freaking out. And so I get in there with my little chopstick, and I'm trying to break the fight up. Because at the time I had less than 10 shrimp, and I didn't want to lose any. I was like, what are you guys doing? And I'm trying to like break up the fight. So, once I was done doing that, after I did some research and realized what was going on, I felt pretty silly after that. So if you see that, just know they're mating. It, but anyway, so none of that will happen unless they can molt properly. So in molting is a process of growing. So you need to make sure that you feed them good. Okay. That's the point here. So let's so let's summarize. Making sure you have the right balance of nutrition and calcium and all this is another skeleton key. You like what I did there? To breeding shrimp successfully. If they stay healthy and they can molt properly and they can do all these things, they'll continue to breed without any problems. Here's something that's often overlooked. And I don't even know if it should be a point, but I want to make the point anyway. It's a little something called patience. Yeah, patience. It's important that you know this. Freshwater shrimp can take anywhere from a few weeks to months to breed successfully in your tank. But when they do, the payoff is incredible, right? I mean, a 1-month-old tank, it may not be mature enough, or the shrimp may not be mature enough. They may not be ready to breed, or it might not be the right season, or maybe she's not in the mood. I don't know, but just be patient, all right? Trust me, it's worth the wait. It'll happen. If all your water is correct and everything is the way it needs to be, it'll happen, and you'll be so happy. I remember my first little shrimplets, right? My first baby shrimplets. I remember this because the babies are like super tiny, and I saw one by accident when I was just looking in there. I was like, what is that? And I'm old, so I'm blind close up. I got to wear glasses. Here I got glasses here. I got another pair I call my blind ones. They're like 3x, so I can see things up really, really close. But I actually went out and bought a magnifying glass off Amazon, so I could see these little guys. And we'd be in there, and I was counting them. Yeah, I was counting them. Because remember, I had less than 10, so I was like, desperate to get this colony started, so I was like at the very beginning. And so I'm in there counting them, and yeah, I don't do that anymore, but I got the whole family involved. We were all in there counting them, and I was like, how many do you see? I found 9. I was like, oh man, I saw 10. Where's the other one? We're just making a mess trying to find these little guys. But now they breed way too fast. But it was so much fun, guys. I mean, you'll be really excited. It's cool. So there you have it. I mean, setting up the right aquascaped environment, maintaining excellent water quality, feeding a balanced diet, staying patient, all of these things. And everything that I mentioned in this video, if you can do all of that, you'll be well on your way to successfully breeding your freshwater shrimp. Remember, they're not just pets. They're a little part of a delicate ecosystem all on their own. So, taking care of them just requires a little extra effort on your part, but it's totally worth it. I know you can do it. It's not that complicated, honestly. So tell me, have you ever tried keeping or breeding shrimp, or just having them as pets? I mean, drop some comments below and let me know about your experiences and any challenges that you had to overcome and what your solution was, or I mean, anything that you want to share. Honestly, like, everybody can benefit from what we've all learned, right? And that's why we're all here. This is a community. I mean, it's not just me telling you what to do. We can all be involved in this. YouTube does posts, and I got to figure out how to do that. I guess there's like posts just like Facebook or something. So I'll look into that, and that way we can all, interact. And oh man, I wonder if you guys could like post pictures of your own stuff in that, instead of just like these these comments are kind of like, you know, they're just words, right? But like, don't you ever feel like you want to show off some of your own stuff? I mean, wouldn't that be cool? I'll look into posts. I'll do that research today. I'm off all week. I took the whole week off, so I'm gonna crank out some videos. This one's coming up here, right? So, you know, anything you want to share. Look, if you're looking to dive in deeper into shrimp care, or you want to learn about other aquarium tips or anything like that, you know, just ask me, and I'll try to cover it. I'll see what I can do. I mean, I'd love to help you guys take your aquarium hobby to the next level. And like me, I mean, I honestly have so much more I need to learn. I mean, I've only been doing this like 3 years. So I know I don't know it all. I can't even name off the plants, you know, you've seen that. But, you know, so my thing is like, I'm here to help you, but we can help each other. You know, that's why I'm here doing this. So stay tuned for future video releases. And, you know, as always, please like it, please subscribe. I don't have any fancy graphics for that yet. I'm working on it. All right, and as always, thanks for watching, Fish Muggers. Happy shrimp breeding.